you have any form of social media, over the past couple years, you may have seen images of Native American women covering their mouths with red paint or even the hashtag #NoMoreMissingSisters. This is in response to the various tragic murders as well as many disappearances of Indigenous women across America. By the end of this speech, I hope that you are more aware of the past as well as present issues that Native American women face. Today we will be taking a look at the history of Native Americans, as well as the current statistics and data that goes along with these missing Native American women, and what is being done to combat the issue. During the time that Christopher Columbus and his crew of settlers came over to America, Native American women were viewed as higher beings, and they were extremely respected in the community, as they were the ones that were having the children, and they took on many jobs amongst the community. However, this title of being extremely respected was quickly stripped from them when settlers came over, and they started to abuse, mistreat, rape, and kill these women. They would also enslave them, according to nativehope.org. When settlers came, they also viewed Native Americans as savages due to their lack of clothes, which Europeans had never been exposed to before. This began the inhumane treatment, as the settlers thought that the Native Americans were dirty, and this stereotype has lingered even into today. According to guides.loc.gov, and I quote, "The law by President Andrew Jackson made on May 28, 1830, authorizing him to grant lands west of the Mississippi in exchange for current Native American lands within state borders. While some left without a fight, others would not, and while being forced out, nearly 4,000 Cherokees died, and this was later known as the Trail of Tears. During relocation, many Native American members got separated, and this led them to living in very urban and impoverished communities, which they are still in today, but we will get into that later. In an attempt to give land back, the Indian Appropriations Act was passed in 1851 to start a reservation system, which would keep Native Americans in a specific area, and they were not allowed to leave unless asking for permission from the American government. This was said by history.com. In 1924, however, they were given the right to leave, and they were also granted U.S. citizenship. While Native Americans were one of the first people to live on American soil, they only make up 2% of our current population, and of those 2%, 71 are currently living in urban communities, and only 22% are living on reservations. Because of the relocation, they are now living in urban areas. Native Americans tend to be racially misclassified as white, which can lead to false Native American count. This obviously has nothing to do with the current issue of missing Native women, but this just goes to show you how overlooked this community is, especially when it comes to data collection. In 2016, 5,172 Native women went missing, according to National Crimes Info Center, and only 116, however, were logged in the DOG database. A large part of these disappearances is because of the unfortunate systemic racism that the Native people have faced since colonial times. In a few CNN interviews with the friends and family of these missing women, many revealed that their missing loved one was forced into prostitution or drug dealing as a way of making an income, because this was all that was available to them. They could not get other jobs. A lot of them could not get schooling because of the systemic racism that has followed since colonial times, and this was just basically all that they could get, all that was provided for them. As stated earlier, a lot of this is still currently going on and has been for years, decades, since the very time that Christopher Columbus came. Due to these jobs, many of these women are killed and kidnapped because prostitution as well as drug dealing are such rigorous and horrendous and can be extremely violent at times. These cases do not get much coverage, however. According to Insider.com, they are too graphic to be broadcasted, according to many media and televisions. It is more likely for them to cover a case about a middle-class to upper-class white woman because it is less common for this to happen. It is less common for a white middle-class woman to go missing than it is for a Native American woman to go missing, and that is just the true tragedy that we are dealing with in America right now. Since there is not much coverage, there is little to no awareness, and that will make the problem continue. However, there have been some recent efforts. In Arizona, Doug Dacey signed a legislation to put together a committee of volunteers and law enforcement together to help find these missing women and track them down. The native reservations also have currently little to no law enforcement, so they are making efforts for the Native Americans to get training so that they can have their own law enforcement on the reservations. I hope that by sharing all of this, the modern day statistics, the history, as well as what is being done to ensure that these statistics do not keep increasing, but they decline, has opened your eyes to the ongoing issue of missing Native American women. This is not a matter of opinion, but this is a matter of something that needs to change so that we can bring home and find all of our sisters. Thank you.